Ready to go!
Hi there guys, I just wanted to run through briefly some ideas and tips on how to arm wrestle effectively. If you've never arm wrestled before and this is your first time having a look at a video like this should hopefully give you some ideas about strategies and the techniques that go into basic arm wrestling. So first off, the first thing that you're going to be doing on the table, you've got your elbow pads and you've got your pin pads here. So you're going to keep your elbow on the elbow pad at all times throughout the match. That's one of the key rules. If you lift your elbow off the pad, you'll be called as a foul. Usually in a match you'll get either 2 fouls or 3 fouls depending on the organisation and the league. You'll see it in a lot of matches where people are pulling and their elbow will actually slightly lift off of the pad. You've got 2 referees looking out for that. It is a foul. The reason being is that you're getting height and it's going to increase your leverage the higher that your elbow is. So you've got to make sure your elbow stays on the pad at all times. You are allowed to move your elbow on the pad as much as you like. The other rule is that you must keep your hand on this pole here. You've got to keep that in contact throughout the match. Those are the 2 main rules that you're going to face when you come up to an arm wrestling table. So if you've stepped into the first time that you've come into the club or you've come up to the table for the very first time, that's the first 2 things I'm just going to explain to you very quickly. Just keep your elbow on the pad, grab hold of that pin pad, the pole there. So the main reason I tell beginners that is important is it sort of makes you keep your this shoulder more facing forwards. Reason being that if you're turning, if you don't have hold of that pole there, and you're turning your body to face in this direction, and somebody pulls your arm back through here, that's what we call an arm break position. So that's where your arm can be in a dangerous position because the pressure is actually going to the bone as opposed to the tendons and the muscles of the forearm. So first things first, step up to the table, elbow on the pad, grab hold of that pole. Okay. Secondly, your feet positioning. If you're doing a right arm, we've got this table set up as right arm. You want to have your right leg forwards, your left leg back, so that way you can pivot your body weight on those legs. So the idea being that you're trying to pull your opponent across the table. You're trying to decrease their leverage and increase your leverage. So by having a leg forwards and a leg back, it's going to allow you to lever your body weight in a much more effective style and effective manner. One of the other things a lot of people don't realize if they're watching arm wrestling for the first time, you are allowed to use your body weight. You are allowed to use your momentum. So leaning, you can lean, pull, move, just sitting down here. As long as your elbow stays on here and your hand stays there, your body can be anywhere that you like, really. As long as you've got one foot on the ground, you could come all the way over here, you could be over here. You are allowed to use your body weight, and that's the reason we have weight classes, because it does make a difference. The weight of your opponent. So if somebody is a heavyweight and they're going against a lightweight, they will have a natural advantage over the other person just based on their weight. So you are allowed to move. You are allowed to move a little way. A lot of people seem to think that you must be perfectly still and that the movement is purely this. That's not accurate at all. It is essential that you use your body weight. So effectively, when you're arm wrestling on the table, you want to keep everything in as tight as you possibly can. This is your basic sort of techniques that I'm going over here. There's different advantages and different methods that people have at a higher level, but as you're a beginner, the most common thing that would be an advantageous position for you to be in, everything being as tight and as close as possible. So you've got your elbow really tucked into your body, you've got your wrist cupped like this, you've got everything in really tight. So when you've gripped up with somebody, the first thing you're trying to do is get a cupped position so you're dominating their hand, and then you would be pulling them back. So you're sliding your elbow back towards this end of the table, and then you're rolling, depending, so this is a top roll, so you've got this position, you're rolling your wrist through as you're pulling with your body. So your body is moving in a diagonal backwards direction. The reason being, you're trying to pull your opponent across the table, is if you're in really tight like this, you've got all of your body weight, all of your strength, all of your wrist, everything that you can use and utilize. Where if somebody pulls you out of that and extends your arm, all you've got is your arm. You haven't got access to the rest of your body. So off of that first movement, if you're pulling back, you've immediately extended somebody's arm, you've reduced their leverage significantly. So it's sort of one of the analogies that I like to use is, if you've got a really heavy object and you're standing right behind that object with all of your body weight, everything's in tight and you're pushing that, it's got to be a lot easier than if the object is here and you're just using your arm. So that's sort of what we're doing here, is we're keeping everything in really tight. And I'm going to keep my hips right up against this table, and I'm going to use it as a pivot point. I'm going to pull back and roll through their hand. So essentially the opponent's hand should get pulled out and then the wrist gets turned over. So they would be extended and then turned down towards the pad. That's your basic top roll. So off of the go, essentially you're trying to get a cut position, you're dragging back and you're rolling the wrist over through the opponent's fingers down towards the pad. And if you can combine all three into a fluid movement, that's the idea there. So off of the go, you're hitting straight through. So it's a quick movement straight down. Usually that will get you a pin against somebody else who's a beginner, who's never really done arm wrestling before. Reason being, when you're cupping in and you're rolling through, the opponent's hand would get, they would lose their wrist would go back this way, and all of the pressure goes into their fingers going down towards the pad. So if you're trying to hold somebody's body weight with just your fingers, it's virtually impossible. So if you think, even if somebody is a lighter weight category, 60, 70 kilos, they've got this position and they've rolled through, their momentum is pulling through, but essentially you're trying to stop 70, 60, 70 kilos plus their arm strength and the momentum with just these little digits here. It's just not going to happen. It's like somebody throwing a 70 kilo dumbbell and going, just catch that. You're going to go down. So that's a basic top roll. That's the basic fundamentals. I just wanted to run through that just briefly. One of the key things, again, making sure that beginners, elbow on the pad, take hold of that pole, keep yourself safe. One of the things that we'll always make sure that people do if they're new to arm wrestling, if they do start to turn away like this and put themselves in that sort of dangerous position, we'll just stop the match. Or we'll let them pin and just say, look, with no resistance, that's not an ideal position to be in. We'll correct your technique, make sure that you get everything nice and tight, keeping it in nice and tight. We're going to get this cut position first. We're going to drag and roll through. I'm going to practice that over and over and over.